with our partners from ReactJS Philippines. We'll just give a couple of minutes for more people to join in and we'll start. Great. I think we're good to go. I'm Harish. I lead platforms and community at AngelHack, and welcome to the second episode of Learn with AngelHack, where we are going to look at how you can get started with ReactJS. And we have two amazing speakers from our partners at ReactJS Philippines. We have Carl and Christian. Carl is the application development lead and director at ReactJS Philippines. And Christian is a software engineer and core team member at ReactJS Philippines, who will now take us through getting started with ReactJS for the next 45 to 50 minutes. And then we'll have Q&A at any given point in time. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the Q&A box in the Zoom chat or in the YouTube chat as well. We'll pick it up from there and address them at the end of the session. With that, let's quickly get started, and over to you, Carl and Christian.
Hi, thanks, Harish. So let me just share my screen. So hi again, everyone. I'm Carl. So as Harish said, I'm a co-director at ReactJS Philippines and an applications team lead. So before we could start on how you could make how you get started with React, maybe you could just discuss a little bit on why you may want to use React, right? So before we could go there, also maybe let's take a step back and let's see how the web development started and how we used to make websites. So it all started in 1989 when Tim Berners-Lee had the idea to create the World Wide Web. In the succeeding years, he created the technologies that implemented this. So starting with the first web browser and the first server, protocol for communication between the browser and the server, known as HTTP, and also a markup language to tell the browser how you want to show your site, which is known as HTML, or the hypertext markup language. Now, a few years later, in the early 90s, Lee, along with a fellow CERN engineer, Hakon Yung Lee, developed a system to describe how HTML elements are to be displayed on screen through a cascading style sheet, or CSS. So during the mid-90s, the internet is starting to gain traction, and developers wanted to make their websites more dynamic by adding animations, user interactions, and other forms of automation. So in 1995, Brendan Eich, an engineer at Netscape, created a scripting language which we now know as JavaScript. But this wasn't just a technology that's pretty familiar or pretty evident during the time. So languages like PHP, JSP, ASP.NET, and technologies like Flash or Silverlight were primarily used by developers to make their websites more interactive and more dynamic. But still, JavaScript rose to popularity when developers wrote and shared tools to solve specific problems that they face, which we now call libraries. Then these libraries are then shared to shape the growth of the web, and now because of that, 95% of websites use JavaScript. In fact, NPM, the most used package manager for JavaScript, now contains 1.3 million packages and libraries in the repository. So this libraries really varies a lot. So they handle small tasks like date formatting, handling arrays and objects. Some allows you to manipulate the browser DOM more easily, and maybe even implement complex animations. Also, some of them allow us to create user interfaces like, React.js. So segue to the actual topic. So now gonna tell you 6 reasons why React.js is for you. Short version, these are some of the things that are often said why React is a great library for web UI. So like first is the use of components, the use of virtual DOM, how flexible it is, and the community surrounding the technology. So let's start first with how React is component based. So in vanilla JavaScript, the HTML or the markup and the JavaScript or the functionality, these files are separated, are split up to establish a separation of concerns. So this is good and all, as you can see here. So on the left, you can see the HTML file which contains all the markup to tell where the data should be placed, where the data should be shown. And on the right is the JavaScript where the functionality is. So in our example, this is just a simple grocery list which shows the grocery list items and allows you to add other items. So the JavaScript file just contains the functionality to add an item. So this is good and all. But as our project gets bigger, as our project becomes more complex, there are some instances that your code that updates a piece of HTML might be found in different JS files across the entire application. That would be a bit hard to keep up as a developer, and it would be a bit harder to learn as a new developer also. So sometimes this sort of separation of concerns might be more problematic in the future. So what React did is instead of splitting it by the functionality, you split your app into components where each component already defines its view, its functionality, and style. So it's encapsulated in one component. And all of this is done on JavaScript. So here's the same code, but implemented in React. So as you can see in the left, at the top is the functionality part. So that's all the JavaScript. It's the same as the one we did in the JavaScript file. And in the bottom, the one it's being returned to is just a markup, HTML markup. Yeah. Right. So also, components in React.js are independent and they are reusable bits of code. So each component can monitor and update its own state. And you also may provide input if required. These are usually called props. And the component will also return a rendered HTML element. So all of this will be discussed more by Christian later in his talk. But for now, yes, so for example, in the left, this is a split up component. So from the actual React.js file we had earlier, I got the input bar and created its own component, which is rendered here below. Then, since there are unusual things inside the JavaScript file, like the existing markup in the components, these React components are usually defined in JSX or JavaScript XML files. So in the left here, we can see that I also split up the item list. So the one rendering all the grocery list, I separated it also in another component. So why did I separate it? So this is another great feature of React. So with the component-based system, we could just easily split the component into smaller ones that we could then easily reuse, since components are isolated, and change in one component doesn't carry forward to others. But there's an asterisk at that one. There's still some ways to do that. So here's our grocery list being rendered. And this is how we separated it into components. So we have the main homepage. Then inside, we use the components, the input bar and the list item components. So each of them are, separated in functionality. So we could further see how components will be useful when we want to expand our application, maybe to not just store a grocery list, maybe we want to store other lists as well. So for example, here I created another application that instead of just showing the grocery list, I also show, my to watch list for movies and TV shows. So as you can see here, the homepage is still one big component, but it includes two cards now, a grocery list card and a watch list card. Then these cards have something in common. They both use and reuse the input bar and the list item components. So you don't need additional code. You don't need to copy paste some snippets of code or HTML to another page. You could just call the component, the input bar component, the list item component again and again. So that's the first main feature of React. Next is, React is declarative. So what is declarative? So declarative programming is just a programming paradigm that expresses the logic of a computation without describing its control flow. So still a bit confused. So maybe you could give an example. For example, when riding a cab, we could tell the taxi driver where we're going in two ways. So first is the imperative method, where we just point to the direction that they should go. So like go down the road, go to the left, the right, then stop on the fifth intersection. So that's a bit tedious, right? So with the declarative way, you could just tell the driver go to the mall on the Fifth Street, and he can do it himself. So now the question is, how is React declarative compared to say vanilla JS? So maybe let's go to another example. So this is so let's go through how we implement adding an item to our grocery list again. So in vanilla JavaScript, what we need to do is first get the button element from the DOM and attach a click listener to it. So the listener will just wait for someone or for the user to click the button, and if the user does it, it will just run the function. So once the button is clicked, we need to get the input element from the DOM and store its value. So it's pretty abstracted on how to get just the value of the input, so that we could add it to the list. We need to access the DOM, then access the value of the DOM element, right? So it's pretty iterative. Then the third one is, once we got the value of the input, we need to add it to the list. So we first get the list element from the DOM. Then we need to create another li element, so we could place the item on that element. Then create a text node. With that text node, we attach it to the li. Then the li will be attached to the list. So it's pretty iterative. You need to access the DOM. You need to know all the abstractions just to do this simple task. Meanwhile, in React, what we just need to do is first, we need to define two states. So the first state contains the list of all the current grocery items. As you can see here, the milk, the bread, the eggs. Then the other state will just contain the value of the input. So just in this first step, we can see that the state of the input is already exposed to us. We don't need to call any abstractions. We need to extract the DOM element from the browser just to get the value. It's all there in the component. Then after that, for the input, again, we just set its value to the new item state. Then when this is changed, the onChange function will be triggered, and this will set the new item to the updated value. So the specifics of this will be discussed further by Christian later. So maybe we'll wait for that one. But yeah, so basically when we change the input, the state that's being stored in the component also changes. Now, when the button is clicked, the onClick event or the onClick function will just be triggered, and it will update the list by appending the new item to it. So as you can see in here, adding the new item is fairly easier than the one we did with the vanilla JS one. So we just we just get the array, the current array, then append the new item on the end, and then that's it. So how does the UI change? So React does that automatically for you. So it automatically renders the view, and the added item will be shown automatically. So yeah, so you can see with React, we do not need to directly manipulate the DOM to build web interfaces and handle events. most of it React does it themselves. Okay, so we're up to the third one. Third one is React is faster. An asterisk on that one too. So let's just start with, one issue with vanilla JS is and other web frameworks is that excessive changes in the DOM makes our app slower. But ideally, the DOM is actually pretty fast because when we're making changes and updates, that's because the DOM is represented as 3 data structure, as you can see in the picture in the left. But the one that slows it down is, after the change, the updated element and its children have to be rendered to update the application UI. So this rendering or this repainting of the UI is what makes it slow.
Carl, sorry to interrupt. I
therefore,
think your slide is stuck on number 1. React is component based.
Sorry, where is it?
Yeah, now, yeah. Okay, cool. Now it changed.
Yeah, sorry. So as I was saying, the more UI components that you have, the more expensive the DOM is, since they would need to be rendered for every DOM update. Okay, so so did the screen change now? Sorry.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So how did React solve this, or how did? So this is where they use something called the virtual DOM. So a virtual DOM is just a representation of the real DOM in form of JS objects, or to be exact, a 3 data structure of plain JS objects that exist in the memory. So as compared to the real DOM, rendering of the virtual DOM is much faster because it is never rendered on the screen. So the repainting or reflow is done only at the end when, only in the end. So maybe I'll just show you the step-by-step process or vague representation of how the virtual DOM changes the actual DOM. So here, first, when your app loads, React creates a virtual copy of the virtual DOM, right? So after that, when an event is triggered, maybe somebody clicked a button or an API call was done, all changes to the state are then queued, which is called batching, and a new virtual DOM is created. Now, after that, React will then compare the new virtual DOM with the previous one, which we call diffing. And once they found out the changes, they will try to calculate the least performance cost method to make these changes to the actual DOM. So, it's pretty easy to think about, but they are very intensive when it comes to calculating the most performant way to update the DOM. So basically what it does is, let's say that there are 10 events being triggered at the same time, and maybe these 10 events just change the same part of your web page. So in vanilla JS or in a regular DOM manipulation, what they do is, on each event, they will try to render the UI. Then they will call the next event, then render the UI. So in the end, for example, there are 10 re-renders that have been done, even though it only changed one particular element. So it's like we wasted 9 re-renders. So this is what React did with the virtual DOM. So they queue up all the events in an instance. Then they try to calculate it, do all the events. Then they will then create a new virtual DOM with these changes. Then they will compare it with the previous one. Then in the end, they will see just this element change one time, right? So at the last step, what they do is they implement this change to the actual DOM. So in the end, the actual DOM just re-rendered one time. So that's why React is technically faster. But if you're pretty efficient with working with your DOM manipulations, I think you could. This should not be an issue. So number 4, React is flexible. So if you're familiar with other frameworks like Angular or Vue, one main difference with React is that it doesn't implement an MVC or an MVVM architecture. So React is only concerned with the view or the UI layer. But since React is just a library and not a framework, you can mix and match other solutions to make your app better. So let's say you're working on a complicated dashboard that you need to store a lot of data. Maybe you could use a state management library like Recoil or Redux. Need to make a complex form, try Formic or maybe React Hook form. Want to make your making CSS files easier to use SAS style components, which are CSS processors and CSS in JS technologies. Maybe you're not in the mood to create your own UI elements. You can just use Bootstrap or Chakra UI. Then also, developers now are also creating libraries specifically for React. For example, there are now tools that assist you in testing and documentation, like React Testing Library and Storybook. Then there are also web frameworks that are now built based on React that implements and handles other functionalities like page routing, image and font optimization, and data fetching, like Next.js and Gatsby. Then React is number 5 is React is not just for the web. So like for example, in 2015, Facebook released React Native, which allows developers to create native iOS and Android apps using React. Then a few years later, Microsoft expanded this technology, and which allows us to create React Native apps for Windows and Mac OS, and in extension, their gaming platforms, Xbox. Then last 2018, Facebook also created React VR, which allows users to develop virtual reality apps using React. So you could see a little bit of video over here. It shows a virtual reality restaurant with some menus and stuff, all created using React. And let's go to the last reason. React has a large community. I feel that all developers have tried searching for fixing issues on GitHub or in Stack Overflow. So a large community is really great when you're trying to debug stuff, right? So for React, as of now, they have around 183,000 stores on GitHub and 15 million weekly downloads on NPM. And also based on the 2021 State of JavaScript survey done just last month, React is still the number 1 framework library that's being used by developers around the world. So like right now, 80% of developers that are surveyed or that participated in the survey use React.js. Then aside from that, lots of companies are using React as their main library, UI library. So for example, there's around 10,000 companies that report using React in their tech stack, including Uber, Airbnb, and of course, Facebook, the one who made React. So I think those are the 6 reasons, why you may want to use React. So if you stay tuned, Christian will tell you how you could create React apps. So thank you. Thank you, guys. Should we continue with Christian?
Yes. Christian, over to you. Thank you, Carl. We'll get to the Q&A at the end. Yeah.
Awesome. Hey, thanks for that, Carl. And yeah, I'll be demoing some of the things. There are some the methods and stuff about React. And then I'm just gonna quickly share my screen here. Let's see. So can you guys see my screen now?
Yeah.
How do I hide this thing? It's blocking my view. Okay. Yeah, so in this demo, this is the application that we're gonna build. It's a simple RPG character builder. And let's see, let's just do a quick demo of it. I can, let's give it a name. Let's say Harish, I guess. So it's gonna be you. Harish, the Novice Warrior. Then we could change our class. And let's see if we do Ranger. I'm a Ranger. And then also for Mage, of course. And then for the difficulties. Now, notice the other things as well when we change our class or difficulty. Depending on our class, we will have a different base points for them. And then, example, if I'm ranger, then it's gonna have a higher agility and so on. Now for the difficulty, we're just gonna have points here that we can add to our attributes. So if I'm on easy, I will have 15 attributes for me to add here. So let's see if we can do that. Okay, and then until I kind of have them move over. And yeah, I think this is gonna be basically it. But I could also save it just so we can have it persisted in our local storage. So if I try to refresh this, it's gonna retain my stuff. But yeah, I'm going to reset this and then save that as well. So yeah, so before we get started, we're gonna do this from the very start. So we're gonna need Node and also npm. And you can just simply click this one for the long-term support, and it will automatically also include the npm, the Node package manager. And then you can choose any of your editor, but mostly VS Code is being used. And then, yeah, we're going to use a command line tool called create React app to bootstrap our React application and makes things easy for us. So if you are done in installing Node and npm, you should be able to type node v and npm-v. And that pretty much confirms that it's installed. And then we're going to now use this command line npx create React app. Let's see over here. npx create React app. Let me know if my screen is freezing, but looks good, I think. Then you can just, after the create React app, you can just go name it your application, maybe something like RPG character builder. So it's gonna be, we're gonna wait for this a bit, but I do have one already open for me because I'm not sure if this might take a while because my internet sucks. So after that, I'm gonna open the result of this, which is gonna be this one. Oh my gosh, my cats, there's so many of them. I'll be back. Give me a second while this thing is loading. All right, cool. Then once this is done, we should be able to open up our project now. So this is the bootstrap create React app application, and then this is our starting point. So we're just gonna analyze what's included in here. So we have here our main app, and then actually let's go for the package JSON first. And we can see here our dependencies, and of course we do have a React and the React DOM, which is responsible for rendering it into the browser, and then the React scripts, which kind of bundles all the build tools under the scene for us. And then we have our script for starting it and building and test. We're not gonna cover the test. And yeah, actually, let's try to run this one. We can do npm run start or just npm start, just kind of shortcut. And yeah, it will by default open in port 3000. So let me just put this side by side so we can see our code. And well, and yeah, so continuing, we also have a public folder here, and we're gonna see our index HTML, and this is basically our single page application. And there's looks, I don't know, but there's nothing really much happening in here. Just ignore the comments for now. But if you can see here in the body, we really only have the div with an ID of root. And this is basically where our React application gets inserted or injected. And that is under here. So as you can see, we have our app from this one. And then it gets injected into that div with an ID root. So continuing, I think we can actually go start now. So if I do a change here, let's learn the app now. and press save, it should automatically update. I don't need to reload. So yeah. And for our application, I'm gonna add some styles here. And we're not gonna talk about CSS. We're gonna focus on the React aspect of this stuff. And then some constants that are related to the application that we're gonna build just to bootstrap things up. So just to do a quick glance, we do have the things from earlier, our battle stats and our attributes, and then our three types of classes. And then, yeah, let's actually just start building. And I'm gonna clean some stuff a bit. So we're gonna start from scratch. I'm gonna do an H1 here. Say RPG character builder. And then another div. I'm gonna do two divs. Style for our main app. Styles from styles, and then app mode CSS. And then I'm gonna add here the container style. Then gonna be the same for, actually this should be app and then container. There we go. So we're bootstrapping stuff, but maybe just a bit about the styling here, because this is kind of different. We're using module.CSS, which allows us to locally scope our styling. Because if, for example, if we are using the normal CSS, this would be applying to all our files. And this is just a way for us to locally scope the styling. And I'm gonna delete this other one. I'm gonna use my style here. Okay. So then let's see what's next for us to build. Maybe we should actually clean up some stuff here that we're not gonna use. I'm gonna remove the logo, the setup test, and web vitals. And just so it looks clean, it doesn't distract us. Just focus on what we're gonna build. And just gonna add some few more styles here that I have prepared. Title, just kind of centering it. And yeah, so we now have our base. So the next thing that we're gonna build is this part here. It's gonna be the profile. And I'm gonna create a folder called components. And then I'm gonna create another file called profile.js. And then in here, we're now gonna start creating our own React components. So let's say function profile, and then we're gonna return our JSX. And we're just gonna go export default profile. Now the syntax does looks like HTML, but it's not. It's still reacting, and this gets actually converted into a JavaScript that React uses called React create element. So under they're all going to be converted to this. But of course, for the development and visual, we are more familiar with kind of this syntax. So it's called JSX. And then, yeah, we're going to import here our profile component that we created. And right now there's nothing because we didn't really add anything. Let's see if we do here span of name. Okay, so there we have it. Let's start building our profile section. So it's gonna have an image, but right now we don't have anything for it now. Or maybe we could comment out for now. And the first thing here we have is this component right here where we can input stuff. So maybe let's actually create another component for it, just above this one. Function input name. And we're gonna demo here some hooks now. And then let's see here, input name. And in here, we're gonna create another div inside where we're gonna have our span of name to show that. and then another span for our input. And let's do a type text. And then, yeah, let's see here. Let's add our hooks now. So there's a way for us to persist our values. And that's going to be called use state. And then this will return us an array. And the first item in the array is going to be the object itself, the main thing that contains this value. And then the second one would be a function, which allows us to edit the current value. So let's say if you have input and then set input. And then we're going to have here in our input to basically have that value. So input, like that. And then we're going to have an on change. And then in here, we are allowed to pass a JavaScript. So let's say handle on change. Then we just go here and set our input to event target that value. Let's see. Then I should be able to type stuff, but we should also be able to console log the value of input, which should be just pretty much the same what we have here. See, test input. Okay. Now we need to be able to also display it in this higher level in our profile. Because currently it's in the input component, but we should also be able to add here our name. And then, like for example, my name, like how we did it in here. So if we type in Johnny, we should be able to also allow that. So how are we going to do that if we have our input in here? So a way to do that is, again, with the state here. We're going to add our name and then set name and then use the state. Now we're going to pass this function here as a prop in our input name. And then here we'd be able to destructure it and grab that function. Now, we would need to also, aside from the edit, we would need this done button to kind of submit our value. So we're going to have another here. It's called button. And let's say done. Then we're also going to have a handler for that. Handle done. Then just going to pass it in here. Handle done. So when we click that done, we're just going to set our name to what is the current value of our input. So that's calling this one, which is from this, and then from this, and then this one's going to be whatever we have typed in here. So let's also print here the result of that. Let's actually wrap this in div, and then maybe an H2. I'm not sure if I used an H2 there, but yeah. To be able to use a variable of JavaScript, we would need to encapsulate it in a curly brace. So let's give this a try. So if I'm gonna go name, no, name, just Bob or something. Okay, cool, we got Bob. So that's for the first thing. Then we also have our stuff here, which kind of drop down for our class and our difficulty. Maybe we can also create a component for that. Now, I'm just going to add some styling here. Let's see. But if you guys do have a question, can speak up. Styles and profile. And then just gonna apply container here. And then for our image, Okay. And then I think we're gonna remove this name. Oh wait, actually I applied it in the wrong area. It's just in the input name. Should be here. Okay. And then this one be here. Okay. And then our image is gonna be right about here. But right now, let's comment that out. We don't have the image yet. Let's start to create a component for our dropdown. So let's do input select.js. And then we're going to create another function for that. Let's say input select. And then export default for input select. And then we're going to return another div. Let's just say select for now, just so we can see our stuff. Import that. Okay. And then I think I might need to apply some basic styling as well in here, in our here in the input. So do you have also import input styles from styles input? This one should be using our in styles container, and this should not exist here. Name. We're going to pass here the name as well. And let's see what happened here. Oh, name. Okay. So let's try to, actually not yet. We will need to have a logical if we are editing, is editing, set is editing. Use state. Then it's going to be a Boolean value. So let's do false for now, since we would need to have a value here first. Now, upon clicking handle done, we're going to have a input submit, and then pretty much we need to convert this into something for editing, because we already have a value here. So for us to do that, we need to do a condition here. If we don't have a name, or if we are editing, then what we can do is show that. And otherwise, we could do another div here with our edit button. Okay, so let's also create a handler for this. On click, and then handle edit. Then let's create here that function. Then we're pretty much gonna do set is editing to true. Whoops, not to right. True. Let's give it a try. Then I'm gonna edit, and let's try to change this. It's gonna work. Okay, but upon submission, we should also set to, if it's editing, then we're gonna set it back to normal mode. So we are done. Okay, so that worked. Cool. Christian. So yeah, that is for that part. But I think I should do some fixing here with the styling. But I think I could just bootstrap it now. Just paste here the styles and placeholder. Value input. Okay. And then styles for this one is submit. And then styles for this one would be it's blocking my view. Styles of edit. Okay, cool. Then yeah, let's proceed to the input select. and I feel like you won't be able to. It's gonna be pretty long. Okay, so for our input select, it's gonna be a select field, but the beauty of React is again with the components and reusability, because we do have two drop downs, which would be this one and also this one for class difficulty. So let's try something like that. So I'm gonna put in our options. So what are the possible options for this? And it's gonna be an array. And let's just keep it simple with string. And let's give us our warrior and ranger and our mage. And then let's also give this guy a field name, which we're gonna call class. And then I think we can pass also here our value for the actual selected guy, which we would also need to put in here. So we have our class, but we can use the class name. It's reserved. I'm gonna use my class and then set class. And that's also for the difficulty and set difficulty. And I'm gonna put it the default value of warrior and also default value of normal for this one. And I'll try to pass that in here. And then I'm gonna do the same for this one. So we're gonna have here a field name for difficulty. And our difficulties would be easy, normal, and also hard. And then the value would be the difficulty from our use state hook. And we're also going to have here a handler for, because we need to use this to actually update their value. So let's create here a set value prop, and we're going to pass it our set class. And for this one, we're also going to pass for the set difficulty. And yeah, let's actually work on this field. So we have our field name. Let's grab it from here. Field name, set value, value, and options. Now for our options, we're simply just gonna go do a select here. And then inside our select, we can map over our options. So we have an option, and then we are, let's see here. Okay, it's gonna be an option, indeed. And then it's gonna be the item itself. I'm just gonna rename this to item. So we have here our warrior for the drop down, and then the difficulty. Now we also need to include here our other stuff. I think I need to speed things up. So a lot of things to finish here. And then usual styling, style set container. I'm just gonna import its styling, import styles from styles, and then also here for our inputs. There we go. And then we're gonna have here our current value and then set current value. Because this is gonna be dynamic, it's not specific just for our class or difficulty. This is state. And then let's just give it a default value of the thing we passed in here. So we have this. As you can see, our field name would be whatever we passed from here. So if we say class or difficulty, then that's going to be rendered right there, the name, and then its value as well, which is currently here in our current value. So we need to have a handler for when we change our here when we selected stuff. So I'm just gonna go ahead and paste this. So save us time. Then just gonna add it here on change. Okay. Hopefully if I click this, it's gonna go to Ranger and hard and normal and easy. Cool. And then yeah. After that, maybe we can also build now the character name from looking at here. Right now we're saying name here, but we're not, it's not really happening here. TV. So let's just finish the whole thing. Let's see here, my class, and then our adjective for depending on our difficulty, which I think we should create a function for that. And just gonna grab this helper function that I made, get adjective, which is pretty much self-explanatory. So passing the difficulty and depending on the difficulty, that's the adjective that we're gonna get. And yeah, let's call that function and then pass the difficulty. So yeah, we get the Hebe, the novice warrior, and stuff like that. And let's see. All right, that did not update. Maybe I didn't save it. Let's see. My class, normal. Now that's weird. Set current value. Oh, okay. It's because we need to actually call this as well. Let's do set value to this one. I'm not sure. Maybe we could actually strip this out, but I think it's better if we just use effect so we can demo the use effect as well. Now this use effect is used for adding side effects to your components. So depending on the dependency, whenever they change, this thing is gonna run. So we have our current value. So whenever we change that using the option, it's gonna change the current value. And then from there, it's gonna run this use effect. And in where we're gonna call our set value. Now in our set value, we're gonna give it the value itself. So we're calling this function, which is from this one. We're uplifting the state in here. So if I click Ranger, go Ranger, and then the easy should go, there we go, that worked. And then I think I forgot to add here a key. This is what the error right here. And React needs to have a key prop whenever we do a map. And this is pretty much to allow React to identify when items here in the list updates or gets deleted or something new is added to keep it stable. So I think we should not have the error anymore. Cool. All right. So I think we're missing one last thing for this part, which is our image right here. And how are we gonna achieve grabbing the image? We're gonna do another use effect right in this in the profile part of our application. So the thing that's gonna change our image is depending on our class. So we're gonna have that as our dependency. And then let's see here. We're gonna have another actual state here. It's gonna be icon, then set icon. And then since we're using warrior and we have it at our classes, and then is in our classes the name for constant? Yeah, classes. And then it's in the first one, and then it has an image or icon object key value. Oh, I think it's so. Set icon to my class. Actually, we have our new find icon. And then from the classes, we're gonna find the item. Let's say class item. And then class item, the name, which would be our class, my class. And then from here, we can grab find icon and then our icon itself. And where is this error coming from? I think it's in this one. We pass it here. Okay. Then just give it an alt character. So yeah, we have here a large icon. It's gonna change its height to 1 to 8 pixels. Okay. And then once I change this to like Ranger, as you can see, it also changed the icon in the mage because we changed to mage And then our use effect detected that my class, which turns into a mage, changed. So it ran this side effect, and then from there we try to find the icon, which from here, the classes, we look for a name called mage, and then for that we have the icon source of it. So that was what was happening there. So yeah, I guess that is for this part. Maybe we can continue next for the pointing system. And yeah, let's create here another one for attributes. Let's name attributes, and we're gonna create another component, attributes of JS, function attributes, and so turn on div for now, and then export people attributes. Am I still here? Hello, guys.
Yes, yes.
Okay, cool. Let's see. And then for our attributes, we're just gonna go some styling here. Import styles from styles, and I think it's gonna be from this one. And let's just bootstrap some stuff here. We're gonna have our points div. There we go. Then our points, which would be gonna be points and set points. But I think in this part in the attributes, we're gonna do something, a new hook. I'm gonna introduce a new hook because we would need to have this connected, a class and the pointing system here. Because depending on our class and difficulty, that would determine our points here and the other stats that we have there. I'm just gonna go paste this thing. Attribute types would be our this one, and then our state should be coming from a custom hook that we're gonna create. But let's skip this for now. What we're gonna do is create here a context to solve our problem with the passing of data between the components. So I'm gonna introduce context now. Let's say character context, and then create context. And then from here, we're going to export our character provider. Then we're going to grab the children, and then return our character context that provider, like so. And then another export would be creating our own custom hook. Anything that starts with use is going to be a custom hook and would be able to use React's own hooks. So let's say use character. And then in this use character, we're just going to return our use context. And then here in our use context, we're going to pass in here the character context. Okay. Now at this part, you would need to add this provider in our app to encapsulate. And import that, okay. And then I'm also gonna move some stuff around. I'm gonna move this container, these two divs inside our context right here. Div and another div. And then the styling, of course. Styles. App modules. Okay. And then we're gonna fix some stuff here. Let's see in our attributes. Okay. So now that we have this context right here, and then it encapsulated our application in here, we would not now be able to use this hook called use character. And then we can pass along our data anywhere in the application in here. So for now, let's try to use this character. And then we're gonna grab our state and another here called dispatch. Now, this thing does not exist yet. We're gonna create it from here. We're gonna say state and dispatch. And this one would be coming from a use reducer hook. So I'm introducing another hook here by React, and it's called use reducer. Then inside here, we're gonna pass here the reducer function and also our initial state. So let's say our initial state would be our attributes, right? So we have our strength be 0, and agility of 0, and intelligence of 0 for now. And then our reducer function, which would be created now. And this would receive two things, the state and our action. So if you're familiar with Redux, this would be pretty much the same. So we're gonna switch our action, the type. And then from there, just gonna continue our reducer. So if we're coming from the profile, not actually in the attributes, we're gonna have our points, and I think I'm gonna remove the points here. It should be coming from our state. And then from here, I'm just gonna grab the points from the state. There you go. And then we're gonna add here the points, which would be default for now to 10. And yeah, gonna add here some stuff to make things a bit quick. Our first case would be to set our stats. And this set stats would pretty much be when we're handling the plus and minus button there that we're gonna add in a bit. Okay, attributes. And this button's right here. Okay, let's fix this last error, handle points. And then inside our handle points, we're gonna have our stat type, and then the amount. Okay. And then from there, let's see. Input attributes. We're just gonna use our dispatch to actually use that case we added earlier, which is set stats. And then our payload, which we would have our type of just type, and then stat value of state that type equals plus amount. Okay. And then also actually a point amount, which should be just passing the amount itself. So we have our type and then the new value for that type and then the point amount. So let's see attributes state. Cannot the structure property of points of state as it is undefined use character. All right. We haven't passed in here the state and our dispatch. So all the values in here, which would be able to the structure from here, and then we're gonna use the state. And yeah, so we're back, and we have our button now. And then upon clicking the plus, we should be able to call the handle points. And yeah, it added that point, and then decreased also the points left. And just a quick recap on that. Upon triggering that dispatch, again, we have the type and stat value and the point amount that we included in our payload. And then we're just simply returning the state and then that type, which could be agility, intelligence, or strength, and its new value. And then for the points, we're just gonna decrease it with our points amount, which could be -1 or +1. but we do have a bug here, and agility is 0. Let's see why is that the case. I think we stat name state. Maybe I think we misspelled stuff in here. Agility, yeah. Okay, my bad. Okay, oh, that fixed it. And yeah, that is for that part. And we will now be able to connect these two things by using this hook. And yeah, let's do that. Let's see here in the profile. If you guys can see here in our constants, we have here base stats depending on our class. So this is where we're gonna grab the values or their default values right here. So let's try here to do a use effect in the attributes. Or actually, maybe we can do it in the context itself. Let's see. Attributes. Actually, we can do it inside in here in the input select. Let's actually put it in here. We can refactor this so that we don't need to use this states here, because we can actually let's go with this route instead, because the time. And depending on our class, again, if it changed, we're gonna call dispatch, const dispatch, and use character. And in the dispatch here, we're gonna say our type would be set stats, and then our payload would be our class. And it's gonna update the dependencies. And yeah, let's see from our context that we have set stats. And oh wait, why did I do change that? I think it was not change that, but change class. Okay, I'm gonna add another case in here called change class. And then this is the thing we are supposed to call. And let's change that. Attributes, and there we go. Context. We are using our payload. Actually, we're not using a payload here. Let's change this. Yeah, Ranger to Warrior. So as you can see here, if I do Warrior, I have these values that we have here in our constants. And the same if we do Mage, 5, 10, and 20. So that's good, but the points kind of became not a number. So why is that? Let's see. If we change here. Right, okay. I guess it was in the thing. Okay. So let's do the points now. If we change our difficulty. So let's do another use effect here. And let's say our difficulty. If it changed, then we can also change our points in the attribute system. We're gonna have for that a payload of our difficulty. And I believe I already have here a case for changing that difficulty values. And in here in our context, we're gonna add that case, change difficulty. Just gonna throw in an error just in case. Let's see here, profile, and there we go, change difficulty. So if I do normal, 10, hard, and easy, 15. But it resulted to 10 initially because, yeah, we're 10. But I think that should update in our use effect in the very first load, I believe. 15, 10 is normal. See, easy, normal, hard, and easy. And actually, we have a bug here. I'm just gonna fix that real quick because we need to have the name existing before we should show this. So for that, we just need to do a conditional right here and put the name inside there. Let's try that again. One, well, done. Okay. Normal. That's 10. Oh, actually, it's the correct value. But why is it saying easy? Should be our default value be not easy but normal. But why is it saying easy when I use refresh? I think it's in here. Yeah, should be value equals value. Then it should be normal. Okay. So we have normal, easy, and hard, and then depending on our stats, our class, our stats would be different. Okay, we're almost done. The final thingy here, which would be this one, and this one's not complicated actually. We're just gonna consume the result of our context right here. So let's create that component, and this one should be pretty fast. Let's just call it stats, and then inside our stats.js, we're gonna go function. Actually, let me do our function just to be fancy. Stats equals that thing, and then just gonna export it right away. And then we're gonna return our stuff test. Let's see. Okay. And then just add some basic styling again. Import styles from styles and stats. I think so. Okay. And I think I should be able to grab here. I think it's not really anything fancy. I'm gonna call the state from our use character hook that we created. And then in the state, we can grab our strengths and agility and our intelligence. And then from here, we're just gonna display stuff, and it looks like some bunch of stuff's happening there, but it's just this. And then for the calculations of their for the health and regen, they're just basically dependent on our strength. So for example, I'm gonna have here a health. So it's using our base battle stats from our constant right here. Base battle stats. Every class will have a base of health of 100, damage of 40, and magic of 30. And then, yeah, we're pretty much just doing a simple formulation here. That health was strength times 5, and then the regen is going to be our overall health multiplied by 0.5. So as you can see here, that is the case. I'm going to increase the strength, and it's going to add the 5 to it, 1, 3, 5, because it's a multiplier 5 over here. And yeah, let's add the other ones, and they're nothing really fancy, so I can just copy and paste the other ones right here. And we can use a hook here called use memo, but it's not necessary for this case. But I can explain what a use memo hook is for. Expensive calculation, use memo. So this one is pretty much used to memorize a value if it is kind of really expensive to calculate. So imagine here if this is something really crazy formula that is really taxing on your processor or something, then we could use the use memo hook to memorize the result, and will only update if one of our dependencies updated. For example, if our strength, we added stuff of it, then it's the only time it's gonna run. Actually, let's memorize the health, just so we can use it. And then for the regen, I'm gonna do it just for the health, because right now it's just gonna look messy if we apply it to the other one. It's gonna be kind of premature optimization, but just a demo of how it works. Just a sec. Okay. As you can see, it's still working. I'm gonna increase my strength, and yeah, the result is still working. But in this case, we have the result memo-wise. And lastly, I think we can do our saving and the final. Maybe we could skip that just to save us time. Let's see. Let's see if everything kind of fits together. I'm gonna refresh just so we reset everything from start. I'm gonna add a character name. Let's say, oh my gosh, what's the name? Any name. Killer B42. Okay. Let's change it to a ranger, an epic great ranger one. Killer B42, the great ranger. Add agility, and then we don't have any points left. Increase 1 intelligence, increase our strength, 1 intelligence of 10. And yeah, those are pretty much interacting with each other. And that is because of the context that we were able to provide our values all over the application. But in a real world application, a really huge one, we should not be using the context hook for it to like encapsulate the whole application, because it is not really used for managing global states, the context. It is mostly for solving the prop drilling issue, which is wherein we kind of added here, for example, a prop here. And then inside this one, it's possible that we have another prop here or a custom component that we need to pass down the value. So that was kind of painful to do. So context was something you added to fix that issue. But for in this case that we're just using a some sort of a menu part of the game, it's totally okay. And maybe just to add another stuff here, maybe just add the button to finish our stuff, finish or confirm. Gonna do here. Wait, why is it outside our card? Okay, I get it now. Oh, wait, what? Styles app, I think it should be inside here. Confirm button, and it went over there. It's weird. Should be here. Okay. Styles, that style did I use here? Let me check real quick. There we go. Then we're gonna go handle confirm. Handle confirm. And then in here, I guess this is the final part where we kind of submit our character. Then let's create a use state here called is confirmed. Set is confirmed to false state false. And then we just simply do set is confirmed for that function and give it a true value. And then at that point, let's actually do some confirm. A confirmation of, I think it's a window.confirm. Yeah. Are you done with your, are you done customizing? Customizing. Then if that is true, then we're gonna set this confirm to true. And then, yeah, let's see if this actually comes true. Confirm. Let's open up console log. Let's see, confirm. Are you done customizing? Yes, and this confirm becomes true. And yeah, I guess just one last thing just to make this a bit fun. I'm just gonna do this thingy right here. If we are confirmed, then we're gonna return this other one. So I guess this is going to be our last demo, the final take on this demo. I'm going to create our name, which would be Christian Lane. I'm going to be a mage. No, I'm just an archer. I'm a ranger, and it's going to be hard difficulty. And then agility, intelligence, strength. So these are going to be my stats. And then, yeah, I'm going to confirm. I think I'm already good with my character. I didn't even press done. Let's press done first. Christian 32, the Great Ranger. And once I click confirm, this iframe would show. And yeah, we are now starting in our game. So that was our character builder. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I did miss some part though. I think it might take a while. I need some refactoring. Because in our demo right here, we do have our reset, save, and confirm. But I think at the time could be too much and the refactoring. But yeah, I think that's going to be about it. And do you guys have any question?
Brilliant. I think the way you've concised this whole complex demo into less than 1 hour is just mind blowing. I think you've also
how long have been running the runtime?
Just about an hour. And also I love the fact that you've casually thrown in so many complex React terms into your demo. But yeah, I love the demo and love the fact that you've taken it to completion instead of just saying, okay, these are the 3 form fields and we're done with it, right? I think great talk, Christian. Also a great demo. Also love the way you write code. So while there are no questions from our participants, I have a couple of questions that I would leave for you or Carl to answer.
Yeah, sure.
First one being, the first question being, where would a beginner go to learn about React?
Oh, pretty much it's documentation. But if you look at their actual documentation, it's kind of updated. And if you see here, it's using a class base, which is kind of from 2016 era. But right now in React, we do use function components that leverages the React hooks. And
I was also about to get to that, right? Which is, what are the disadvantages of React? Everything looks fancy, it looks great and all of that, but what are the real disadvantages of React?
Oh, disadvantages of React. I can't say for sure because I haven't tried the other libraries or frameworks. I think maybe Carl can speak up more about it.
Yeah, so one problem of React, as I said earlier, React is it's just a library. So for a beginner, it might be a little bit daunting to set things up to start a React project. But I think this problem is kind of augmented by React itself, since they already created something like Create React App that would that would give you a playground to work with. So everything is already set up. You just need to add your own code. But yeah, I think if you want to know, you want to start from scratch, from nothing, it might be a bit complicated since you need to find the libraries that you need to make something work.
Got it. Just a quick follow-up to that. There is also React Native, I believe. What is the difference between React JS and React Native?
Yes, so they both work the same. The concepts are also the same, but the difference is instead of using HTML elements like div, head, or things like that. You use specific components that are based on native elements, like an element for a text box, as you can see in an Android app or iOS app, a title bar, things like that. So it's like they converted all the elements of a native application and created components for React, something like that.
Awesome. I don't think I have any follow-up questions to that, but thank you so much, Carl and Kristen, for spending your weekend with us and teaching us how to get started with React with simple yet not so simple application. For everybody else watching this on YouTube or watching this later through any of our communities, do check out ReactJS Philippines community. We're going to reactjs.org.ph. I hope you're able to see the right screen. But yes, go check them out, see what they're up to, and join any sessions that they're organizing. AngelHack would love to organize more in-depth sessions too, depending on how our community reacts in the future days, right? So yeah, once again, thank you, Carl, and thank you, Christian,
thanks
and
also,
also
Harish.
Hey, thanks,
shout out to
Harish.
your team. Yes, looking forward to actually doing more sessions. This is fun. I love the demo. Yeah, let's do a simpler one next time, I guess. But
Yeah.
we should do 0.75x on YouTube to actually slow down demo and learn a lot of things that Christian casually threw around, like use memo and all of that. Great, awesome. I have one last thing to mention. AngelHack is partnered with StackUp, where developers can earn while you learn. We have some quests where you can learn blockchain and Ethereum based applications and more such technologies, and also earn up to $500. So head over to app.stackup.dev and use the code AngelStack0222. The code is in the description of this video below, that you can use to sign up and get early access to the platform. That's something you should definitely try out if you want to make learning fun, right? And with that, we come to the end of this session. And once again, thank you so much, ReactJS Philippines team. Carl and Christian also looking forward to future sessions with you, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah.
Hey,
Harish.
thanks.
Thanks.